All right, let's talk about it. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. You hear these words thrown around all the time, right? Sometimes it feels like they all mean the same thing. But do they? Are they just buzzwords? Today, we're going to cut through all that noise and give you a super clear breakdown of what's what and why it matters so much right now. So, yeah, let's just get right to the heart of it. What is the actual difference between these things? Because once you get this, the entire AI revolution starts to make a whole lot more sense. Okay, the easiest way to picture this is with these nested circles. It's kind of like those Russian nesting dolls. The biggest doll, the whole thing, is AI, artificial intelligence. Now, you open that up, and inside you've got machine learning, which is a specific way of doing AI. And then, right at the very center, the smallest, most powerful doll, that's deep learning. It's a specialized, souped-up version of machine learning. So simple as that. Deep learning is inside machine learning, which is inside AI. This is our map for today. Let's start with that biggest circle, artificial intelligence, or AI. Really, at its core, AI is just this huge, long-held dream of creating machines that can think or act like a person. It's the what, the big, overarching goal. You know, a simple chess program that follows rules, a character in a video game. If a machine is mimicking human smarts in any way, boom, it fits under this giant AI umbrella. So if AI is the what, then machine learning is the how. And this is where things get really interesting. See, instead of a person writing code for every single little rule, we just show the computer a ton of examples, and it figures out the patterns for itself. It learns. Think about your Spotify recommendations. Nobody programmed Spotify saying this person will like this exact song. Nope. The system learned your taste by looking at everything you've ever listened to. That's machine learning. And that brings us to the very heart of it all, deep learning. This is the real cutting-edge stuff. It takes machine learning and puts it on steroids by using something called an artificial neural network. Now, these are complex systems with many, many layers, and they're kind of sorta inspired by how our own brains work. And it's these layers that let the machine learn in a much, much deeper and more powerful way. And this chart really breaks down the nuts and bolts. You can see deep learning is super hungry. It needs massive amounts of data and really powerful hardware, like those GPUs you find in gaming computers. But here, this is the most important part. Look at the human role. With traditional machine learning, a person has to do a lot of upfront work, telling the system what features to pay attention to. With deep learning, the machine figures all that out on its own. It takes way more time and power, sure, but the results can be mind-blowingly accurate. So, to really get why all this is happening now, we've got to take a little trip back in time. Because the idea of artificial intelligence is super old, but the story of how we actually got here is full of big dreams, big failures, and then one massive breakthrough. You know, this all started way back as just a philosophical fantasy. But then, in 1956, it got its official name, and the research really began. But the early hype got way ahead of the technology, leading to this period called the AI winter, when everyone got disappointed and all the money dried up. Then came 1997, a huge moment. IBM's Deep Blue computer beat the world chess champion. But that was an AI that just followed a whole lot of rules programmed by humans. The real turning point, the moment that sparked the era we're in now, was 2012. A deep learning model called AlexNet didn't just win a huge image recognition contest, it absolutely crushed the competition. It was a signal that something new, something way more powerful had finally arrived. So what was it about that moment in 2012? What was the big secret that unlocked everything and started this AI explosion we're living through? Well, it all comes down to a totally new way of thinking about how to teach a machine. This was it. This was the light bulb moment. We completely flipped the script. We stopped trying to hand-feed the computer every little detail, and instead, we just gave it a mountain of raw data and let it figure out what was important. This is called automated feature learning. And think about that for a second. It means the machine isn't limited by what a human thinks is important. It can spot patterns we might never, ever see. And that changed absolutely everything. Let's just walk through this evolution. First, you had step one, explicit programming. A person writes every single line of code. Simple. Then we got smarter with step two, shallow machine learning. Here, a person would still do the hard work of picking out important features, like telling a program trying to identify a cat to look for pointy ears, whiskers, and so on. But step three, deep learning, that's a whole different level. You just show the network thousands of pictures of cats. You don't tell it anything. And it learns on its own what makes a cat, from the simplest lines to the full concept, all by itself. So you can see why this was such a game changer, right? The old way was slow, and it was totally bottlenecked by how good a human was at guessing the right features. Deep learning, on the other hand, can find these incredibly complex, hidden patterns in raw data, stuff a person might never notice, which makes it unbelievably powerful for messy, real-world things like pictures, sounds, and language. But this whole revolution didn't just happen because of one smart idea. It was really a perfect storm. Three things came together at just the right time. First, the internet created big data. Suddenly, we had all the information these models needed to learn from. Second, the video game industry accidentally gave us the perfect tool, powerful GPUs that were amazing at the kind of math these neural networks needed. And third, the researchers themselves had major breakthroughs in how to design and build these deep networks. And that perfect storm of data, hardware, and algorithms kicked off the insane AI boom we are living through right now. A time of incredible progress and investment for sure, but also a time of some very, very big questions. If you want to get a sense of the scale, just follow the money. Private investment in AI shot up to almost $120 billion in 2021. This isn't some quiet little corner of the tech world anymore. This is one of the biggest economic forces on Earth. And all that cash created real tools that everybody's heard of. ChatGPT is the perfect example. It became the fastest growing app in history, period. For millions and millions of people, this was the first time they could actually talk to a powerful AI, and it blew their minds. But right in the middle of all this excitement, the alarm bells started going off, and they were loud. Thousands of the top minds in tech and AI signed this open letter, asking these really intense questions and basically saying, whoa, 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 maybe we should tap the brakes for a second and think about what we're building here. And those fears are based on some really tough challenges. First, you've got data bias. If you train an AI on the internet, it's going to learn all of our human biases, and that's a huge problem. Then there's the black box problem. These systems are so complicated that sometimes even the people who made them don't know why they make certain decisions. We also have to deal with concept drift. Basically, the world changes, and a model trained on old data can quickly become useless or even dangerous. And all of this rolls up into these massive ethical questions about jobs, fake news, and, the future of humanity. So, after all of that, this incredible story, where are we? What's next on the horizon? It's pretty wild to think about. We've literally gone from an ancient philosophical dream about thinking machines to a real, tangible technology that is changing, well, pretty much everything about our world. It's been a long, long road to get here. So the story of AI today is really a story of two sides. On one hand, you have this incredible, accelerating progress and the potential to do so much good. But on the other hand, with all that power comes a huge, huge responsibility. The challenge isn't just about making the machines smarter anymore, it's about us being wiser. At the end of the day, we did it. We built machines that can learn. That part of the dream is coming true. But now the really hard question, the one that's on all of us, is to decide what we should teach them. Because what we choose to put into these systems won't just be data, it'll be a reflection of our own values. The next chapter isn't really about what the machines can do, it's about what we choose to do with them.